Woo! Hey guys, it's Baron J67 with LV1 Gaming, and we are at GDC 2025. Yes, it's LV1 Gaming's first GDC, and this is actually going to be our first interview with a VR company and VR game. And today we're here with Dylan from Mastiff, and we are looking at
Tunnels.
tunnels.
Yes.
Now, Dylan, who are you? What do you do at Mastiff?
Yeah, so I am the marketing lead at Mastiff. We're a publisher that's been around for around 20 years. Our focus has been bringing Japanese games global initially, but we've moved on to global publishing. We're publishing games from all over the world across all different markets. And very recently, we've started going into VR a lot more over the last couple of years. You know, it was a very large growing segment and continues to be a very exciting space to operate in. You know, we saw that opportunity. GDC last year, we met the developers of the game Nomad Monkey, similar situation like this, played the game and immediately felt the sense of claustrophobic horror, right, that you could only get in a VR space, which is sort of the big thing that drew us to the game initially.
I love that. That's one cool thing about VR is that feeling of you can't leave the world.
Exactly.
Like that's such an awesome experience.
Yeah,
now, speaking more on that, tell us about tunnels in the game that we're going to be checking out today.
Yeah, so what you're going to be playing today is sort of an experience of the vibe of the game. It's not gameplay complete. It's more of just sort of a haunted house trying to get from one end of a dark tunnel to the other, right? Crawling through, trying to survive. It's not a presentation of the full game, obviously. We're shooting for a Q3 spring release this year, so in the next couple of months. I would say game's about 70% of the way there. And what you're going to see is sort of where it is from a graphic fidelity standpoint, from an environmental standpoint. And after you're done, I'll talk a bit about how we're expanding on that into a greater gameplay experience, right? Taking that core and adding on gameplay elements on top.
Awesome. So with the game being around 75% done, it's safe to assume that you guys know who it's for. And that's actually a question I love to ask is who is Tunnels made for?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say two demographics for us. One, people who are into adventurous horror experiences, right? Both in the sense of it's a unique horror experience, so you got to be a little adventurous to jump into it. But also, we're making an adventure here. You know, we got a single-player kind of premium experience over the course of 2 hours. You know, you're going to be going on an adventure, overcoming a lot of different challenges throughout a story, including things like mountain climbing, zip lining, swimming underwater through dark tunnels, that kind of a thing. But the other demographic we're shooting for are the very large demographic of free-to-play multiplayer players on the Quest, right? The Quest headset has a lot of younger players who love to mess with their friends and interact with each other in social experiences. And so while we have that single player side, we've also got sort of a Lethal Company-esque situation where you got 4 players that are put into a labyrinth of tunnels and they got to work together to try to find their way out. And so, there's a lot of yelling, there's a lot of throwing your friend under the bus, that kind of a thing. And so, yeah, I would say those are sort of the two primary audiences that we're searching for.
And in hearing that, is there going to be a comedy element within the single player experience?
No, we're going to play that pretty straight. I understand the temptation that we originally had was, well, maybe it should be a little bit more on the goofy side because the multiplayer tends to be goofy. But what we like about the multiplayer is that we're not trying to make it goofy. Being scared with your friends is a fun and goofy experience, right? So, it's sort of, organically comes up just having the design the way that it is, which we love to keep. Again, people love that from a social experience standpoint.
And that's cool. So what was the inspiration behind this?
Yeah, so the developers put together 3 free demos for the MetaQuest headset store. Put those out a couple of years ago to see what would stick. And obviously horror on VR is a very unique kind of slice, and they had thought, well, what's a phobia that's not being represented in games? The claustrophobia, right? And you don't get that on anything but VR, really. You know, in a game like, say, Uncharted, when you're underground in dark tunnels, it doesn't feel like you're actually there. So they wanted to put players in that position, and so that demo resonated with people extremely, right? Like, since that demo came out, it's got 150,000 downloads on the MetaQuest store, and all of that's organic, right? They didn't have any publisher at the time. They didn't have people supporting them. But eventually, they shopped the game around. We found it. We decided to help publish the game. And from there, we're trying to bring it out more to the public. 50 of those, 150 downloads are just within the last few months as we've been updating and sort of pushing the game out. And yeah, they iterated until they found something that stuck, and we're driving that to the bank and seeing what we can make out of it.
Nice. So you mentioned free to play.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a plan for microtransactions? Or?
Yeah, so it's not going to be gameplay tied. It's going to be cosmetic only. We don't necessarily have a full, I would say, plan when it comes to the microtransaction side of things, because right now we're focusing on making that a 1.0 content complete without those things, right?
Gotcha.
We want to make sure that's a very polished multiplayer fun experience for you and your friends, that you wouldn't have to spend that currency if you don't want to, but have it be just a fun additional thing you can do. Now, obviously plans change, but right now, again, we're more focused on just making a good multiplayer experience.
Got you. So is there a demo so the current build?
Yeah, there is a free demo available for just the multiplayer right now. Demo used to include the single player, but we made a lot of changes, a lot of improvements over these last couple of months. So we wanted to, take it off, put it in front of testers in a closed environment, but it'll be coming back again soon. One thing that's really important, to double back for just a second, that free-to-play multiplayer is now still free to play. You can try it out with you and your friends. If you look it on the Meta Horizon store, it's just Tunnels Multiplayer Preview. That's what it's called. But with the single player, we're always going to have a free side of the single player. So when you download Tunnels, you're going to get access to a free version of the single player. First couple of minutes, experience kind of the vibe of the game. You always have that free trial, and then you can make the decision to purchase the rest of the campaign if you would like. And in addition, that free-to-play multiplayer obviously will always be free to play.
So what's the price point expected for Tunnels?
I cannot give a specific number in regards to that at the time.
And so you mentioned Q3 of this year. This sounds super terrifying and exciting at the same time, and I'm looking forward to actually testing this out, and I'll probably have some overlay, some gameplay video that you guys will be able to see me being terrified underground. But side note, when I hear about this, you guys I know this is, you guys are talking about 1.0, but like working with different IPs and like,
how I would phrase it is we're never going to leave anything off the table. If an opportunity arises, we would be interested in that kind of thing. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of potential when it comes to a free-to-play game to have additional tie-ins with other IPs and properties. We're open to that, in the future.
And like, this is me just going off the cuff, like especially just the being underground and whatnot. I think of Tremors. I think of Dune. I think it's just all these different things that already exist that would be cool to be afraid of.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, we're hoping that what we're showing you today shows that we now fully understand and have nailed the being trapped in a tunnel vibe. So from there, the world's our oyster. Ideally, we're going to try to iterate on that experience, add on to it, make it more interesting. And I'll talk a bit more about how we're going to expand on that after you've had time to play the demo. But we'll go from there.
Grab. Oh, how do people do this? Like, this is. Oh. What was that? What is that? What is that? Oh, it's a mouse.
John's getting tired or starting to feel a little strained. Use that left stick to move forward, however you want to do it.
Ooh. What was that? Oh, you could totally make a workout component to this. I'm legit having fun.
You gotta keep going, man. Gotta be careful, they might catch up to you.
Oh, see, no, stop. I'm Oh man. So can like whatever's in there, can it hear me?
I'll talk a bit about that after.
Oh shit.
Sorry to do that to you, man. It was necessary. Well, you made it, dude. You got to the other side. Congratulations.
Oh my god. Oh my
Let
god.
me take those from you. There.
Oh my god. I didn't yell too loud, did I? All right.
So you just got out of the demo. How was it? How'd you feel?
Okay. So what I love when games do what they're supposed to or what they intend to do, and one, I did not feel safe. It was the audio, even just seeing running into the first little creature, a mouse, and just from the distance, like not knowing what was coming, and but yet I'm backing up. Like there's a moment in the video which I'll probably clip into this part. You can see me like
Running
actually
away.
pushing
Yeah,
myself
yeah.
back, and then also I think it's really cool that there's the component of if you want to play legit, you can crawl and you have to actually place your hand where the ground is. You can't. It's not just like free flowing. You have to get the actual. You're grabbing earth,
Yeah.
and it felt good. It felt like the fact that for most of my playthrough, I'm legitimately crawling through, and I thought that was super cool.
Okay.
And being immersed in like it's dark, it's spooky, and then honestly, I got more scared with the light. Like that I thought the light would make me feel better, but even before the big the big moment,
Yeah.
it was a legitimate when the light clicked on and everything opened up. I was like, I don't like this. Like I like being in the unknown a little bit more.
Felt a little safer that way.
I'm the guy who runs through the haunted house with his eyes closed. Like, so it definitely had it it I feel like it does what it intended to do.
Perfect.
Yes.
Yeah, and we love to hear that, man. Those are all great, kind words. That was our goal. Is again, it's an experience you can only get in VR. That claustrophobia, that darkness, that low FOV, things being faster than you really feels very strong when you're in VR. That being said, what you saw, as you mentioned, sort of a haunted house, not a ton of gameplay in that. It
Yeah.
was sort of an experience of getting from one end to the other. The full game and what we're experimenting with and in the polished state of, all this stuff is done. It's just an iteration. We're trying to make it a good polished experience in time for launch. You're going to be in those tunnels with monsters free form roaming around. And you're going to have to be avoiding them and fighting them off with a flashlight as they come and try and get you, right? So we wanted to add an additional cat and mouse component of not only are you experiencing this, but you have to actively fight back against it as those creatures are trying to find you. With a flashlight with a limited number of batteries, a limited resource, you're taking that survival horror inspiration and making it a tough and scary experience. But not only that, we're adding segments in between these tunnels because, the tunnels are great. We love the tunnels, but we wanted to spice it up with a little additional gameplay.
Yeah.
So there's going to be rock climbing in the game. There's going to be zip lining. And as you kind of alluded to, oh, thank God there's no water, there is going to be underwater spelunking sections as well, which for me personally was the most terrifying when I first tried it. But yeah, in those underwater caves, very foggy water with things in there that could come out at any moment. So yeah, we wanted a fun, cohesive underground adventure horror experience. And so, we have a lot, I'm not going to say we have a lot of work to do. We're almost done with the thing, but we're making sure that it's polished and ready to go by spring.
What are some how do you interact with the monsters, or how do they find you?
Yeah, so it's going to be primarily site based. So
Okay.
we're not doing sound integration at this moment. Something we're going to possibly experiment with on sort of multiplayer editions in the future. A lot of that other stuff I talked about, the zip lining, the swimming, that's not going to be in multiplayer in 1.0, but will be integrated in content updates as time goes on, as we add it to the free to play. Or at least that's the goal. No promises, but that's the goal right now. That being said, the monster interaction is mostly avoiding sight lines, avoiding them, as they try to find you, and then mostly fighting them off as they try to get you activated. Right? They're searching for you. You're being hunted, so you're going to have to be head on a swivel, listening. Directional sound about which tunnels are coming from. What you were in was sort of a straight line tunnel, but there's going to be a lot of offshoots, directions. Which way do I go? Navigation will be a challenge. You're going to feel trapped, and you're going to be enclosed with those monsters.
Oh man! And folks, when you're in there, you really are in a tunnel. And if you've ever done any type of VR, especially MetaQuest, there's no escaping. Barring, of course, taking off the unit. You look up, you're in the tunnel. You look down, you're in the tunnel. You look to the left, look to the right, you're in the tunnel, and you are underground. And then the sounds and the rocks, that feel of you crawling and the movement and light off in the distance, and then you get there and it's just this little glowing orb. Is there anything about the glowing orbs, or is that?
Yeah. So what we wanted to make sure was that players are able to navigate without, even in that complete darkness, right? So what you saw was something that we have little sort of little checkpoints, those little crystals. Those are sort of what are guiding you forward in the next direction. There's a story explanation as to why. It's a little bit mysterious as to what those crystals are doing there and what their purposes are. Yeah, those will be kind of a little guidepost that push you forward. Obviously you can't navigate in complete darkness. We don't want to put people in that instance often, but there will be moments where there will be moments.
I did experience that in the demo. Yes. There was that moment where everything was gone, and then the light is not always your friend.
For sure, but yeah, that's the goal. That's the intent.
Awesome. So Dylan, let the folks know where they can go and check out tunnels.
Yeah, so if you go on the Meta Horizon store right now on your headset and search tunnels, you can try out the multiplayer preview. We would really love it if you did. And there should be also a link to our Discord directly from that store page. And if you want to potentially try out the single player experience, meet some of the other people that have tested the game, or just get to know other people that are interested in tunnels, that's the best place for it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It's Baron J67, and we're here at GDC getting ready to check out tunnels. Much love. Peace. All right.
Sweet.